Hello, my name is John Wilson. I'm the Lion of Judah. Today we want to open the doors of the church to join the one and only church of our nation, which historically represents our nation as the race of we, the people, in our U.S. Constitution. Now, this is the only body of racial minorities of our nation and our universe, for that matter, because there are only two races. The Church of the Seven Amen of the Apocalypse is that body. We're mentioned at the end in great detail at the end of the Holy Bible. Or to put it another way, this is an introduction to Santa Claus list to join our church. So what is most important about our latest attempt to get people to join the church is that we have condensed the application process to join and be a part of the marriage between heaven and earth down to one question to initiate the membership process. So I want to share this membership question to start this series up. What was John the Baptist's purpose on earth, and what was his relationship to Jesus? This is a very important question in establishing the Seven Amen Church membership, because the presence of John the Baptist in the Bible is a very important point to freeing our country and Israel from Russian occupation. Now, the reason this question is important is because we are all waiting the start of the apocalypse to end the Russian occupation of our country, as well as that of Jerusalem and Israel. As you can see, Hamas has finally started to turn up the heat to end the Russian occupation of Israel. And it would be wise for any Christian to realize that we are on the brink of the apocalypse, because the fifth angel, who is no other than Ray Lewis, and he is probably ready to blow his horn to send me home to start the apocalypse after he hears the very same testimony that I'm about to give to you right now. My testimony is this. If you're wondering where your freedom has been replaced with gentrification of civil rights, is because civil rights is slavery. The way that you know this is slavery is because women have no fundamental constitutional place or rights in the establishment of freedom. This is fundamentally because black women can live exponentially longer than white men. This is a fact of life that is explained in our Holy Bible, Genesis 6. What is happening in our country is that ever since the Russian occupation took over our country after the assassination of President James Garfield and William McKinney, the Russian occupiers have rewritten our country's history so that they can seize control of our country and colonize our country under their civil rules. So they can install a black queen in a position of leadership over our country once again, as the black communists held a queen in power over our nation when the U.S. was still a colony. The black communist slave race has successfully installed a black queen into power over America with Kamala Harris, who is illegally taking the vice presidency as the gentrified queen of Joe Biden, which is completely and totally illegal. The question you might ask yourself is, why is this wrong, and why would Joe Biden and Kamala do this? The answer is what will probably start the apocalypse tonight by Ray Lewis corroborating my testimony as the truth. Now, I might be shaking on some of the facts, but he can fill in as he sees necessary. But the accusation of what I'm saying will cause all who hear this message to await Ray Lewis's response. And he will certainly have the answers, as his answer will crown him a king, Lord, and high priest in the one and only church of racial supremacy of our nation, as Ray Lewis is the high priest of Melchizedek in the holy church of the Seven Amen of the Apocalypse. What happens is Joe Biden illegally put Kamala Harris in the vice presidency of our country because Kamala Harris is Herodias from the New Testament and had John the Baptist killed. Joe Biden was also around when John the Baptist was killed, and all the evidence points to Joe Biden being the one who stuck the spear in the side of Jesus Christ ending his life on the cross. What happens is if you're wondering where your freedom went, it's guaranteed in the Bill of Rights. You don't have them because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who is Herodias, have been behind the scenes for the entire history of our country, bending and breaking the rules around our Bill of Rights so that they could seize power before Ray Lewis could be born and raised and then get away out of slavery. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who is Herodias, and Barack Obama, the same Barack, son of Obama from Kadesh in Judges 19, did this so they can maintain power over top of Ray Lewis for as long as possible as a matter of self-preservation and a black communist defense against Ray Lewis, the fifth angel of the apocalypse. So a big part of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who is a Herodias, is the exact same Russian Pole occupation plan that they used in Jerusalem in the days of Jesus and John the Baptist. The only difference being that with this technology advances from the day of Jesus and John the Baptist, they started bringing in hundreds of millions of invaders from all over the world by planes, trains, and automobiles, with some even walking over our border to team up to invade those who are present at the inception of this Russian occupation, as Joe Biden maintains a special place in infamy in the Legion of Doom as the spear-wielding man who killed Jesus. Barack Obama and Kamala Harris, otherwise known as Herodias, once again, don't forget that, they're here to maintain this Russian occupation of our country. Because what every United States racial minority needs to consider most is that most, if not all, the invaders know Joe Biden and Kamala Harris a lot differently than the racial minority union of our country have been conditioned to know Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. What that means is that our entire legal industry is colluding with Joe Biden, the spirit of Jesus, and Kamala, who is Herodias, to keep our country legally bound in slavery. So, or let me rephrase that, so they can keep us illegally bound in slavery, so that Kamala Harris can prostitute every last penny out of our country to give to Israel and Ukraine, who are occupied countries of the Russian Poles. Remember, Zelensky is an Ashkenazi Pole. He's a Russian Pole descendant. This whole idea that he is fighting Russian occupation, it's a farce, as he is well aware of Ray Lewis, who Ray Lewis really is. Zelensky is aware of this, and he's helping a brother of the Russian occupation force, who is Joe Biden. And Zelensky has readily admitted that he is not fighting for Russian freedom or freedom from Russia. He's said this before our Congress. He says, hey, look, we're fighting for independence. Independence is something that is involved in civil rights. That just means you're able to be colonized once again, as we've been colonized. What happens is Zelensky has made no foray into the realm of freedom, nor that of Israel, but yet we are illegally, against our Constitution, supporting these people. So what I want you to understand is that this whole thing is a massive act of deception and collusion, and it pales in comparison to the deception and collusion that Joe, Barack, and Kamala, who is Herodias, have been doing in our country for the past 250 years. What I'm saying to you is this. All of these black communist citizens in our country are constitutionally illegal Russian occupiers and invaders that I estimate at 236 million. What you have to understand, what I'm asking each and every one of you to do, is use your spiritual compass in weighing and judging what I just said about Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Barack Obama, and get prepared to ask Ray Lewis if this is true, and if he is indeed the fifth angel of the apocalypse in the book of Revelations. Because what this means is not only are some of these people not supposed to be here out of fundamental respect of our U.S. Constitution's Bill of Rights, but a lot of these 236 million black communist slaves are here violating the laws of nature, because they are all well past, a lot of them are well past the age of 120 years, and consequentially violating our 13th Amendment. And as bad as I can explain to you that there are people here violating our 13th Amendment that are way too old, way past the age of 120 years, it's way worse. And remember, one of the basic parts of the 13th Amendment is no slavery. It is pretty basic, pretty simple. We wrote that after the Civil War. So what happens is what's going on in our country now, I can assure you that, again, the reality of my explanation that slavery is going on right now in the United States, it's exponentially worse than my words are able to describe. Because I have more stories than I want to share with you, and I want to share some of these stories with you about growing up in slavery and childhood prostitution that I experienced growing up in a Russian Pole neighborhood of Silver Spring, Maryland, where I attended Albert Einstein High School, named after a famous Russian Pole enslaver by the name of Albert Einstein, of course, whose work in and around Germany probably served as a very incendiary point and piece of body of work to discredit the Holy Bible, to which the German people, who are disdainfully referred to as Nazis, the people of Germany was disdainfully referred to as these Nazis, because they refused to bow down to slavery beneath the false idols of the Russian Poles, who are Caesar Nero II and Cain. So they rightfully executed their black racial oppressors who had been holding the region of Germany in the black racial oppression of slavery ever since the Romans, who are the Ashkenazi people of the Russian Poles, crossed the Rhine River of Germany 300 years prior to the birth of Jesus Christ and John the Baptist. So what you need to understand as a fundamental point of view is that this entire legal industry of our country, from the lawyers, judges, police officers, meter maids, IRS agents, etc., are completely and totally colluding with the Russian Poles to protect the truth about Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, who is Herodias, that they are both gentrified slaves beholden to Russia, the god of Russia, I should say, and support all the communist belief systems and disrespect the truth of salvation from the 7 Amen of the apocalypse. The evidence you can even see right now is if you Wikipedia presidential inauguration prayers that our country has even allowed Russian Poles and all the institutions that were participating in the Southern Confederacy of the United States to speak, and they disallowed the racial minority church of the 7 Amen of salvation to speak at all of the inaugurations since 1937, when we officially went under the colonial control again of England. Now, the church of the 7 Amen are the race of the people of we, the people of our country. We are the racial minorities. The Russian occupiers were able to completely silence the racial minority union of our country after the Second World War, which put us again under the control of England. I had to say that twice just to make sure you understand that. So some of the simple evidence that our entire legal system is colluding with the Russian Poles is that there are women holding elected positions which they did not fight for. Not to mention that fundamentally, women in power over the top of those in the racial minority union is illegal by our Holy Bible textbook. It's the only defense that we have against slavery, and it goes against the rules of our Bill of Rights, who are the political union of our country. And the believers and the practitioners of the Holy Bible should know and understand why this is so. Because in the beginning, man was created, Adam, and the slave, Eve, who is an aid. You understand? So what we want to continue on with is that what I want you to understand is that freedom for any black woman of a similar social economic profile like Kamala Harris, who is a lawyer, and anybody of that same social economic profile, freedom is not in their best interest, because in constitutional freedom, it rightfully removes the black woman's right to vote, because there are exponentially more black communist women in the world, and they also have the potential to live exponentially longer than any white man. As I explained to you, this is a rule of being white in Genesis 6. However, What is in the best interest of the black communist woman is to continue lying about Ray Lewis being the king of our nation and our entire country for this 150 years long observation of our oldest enemy's slave beliefs, which is England and Russia. In order for the race of the black communist woman to maintain slavery over top of the white man in his own country, the identity of Kamala Harris, the whore of Babylon, who had John the Baptist killed, and Joe Biden, the soldier who stabbed Jesus to death, is so that they can stay in the system of welfare. Because as a result, Kamala Harris' efforts, there are no black women in this country who are not on welfare. What you have to understand is that welfare is completely and totally illegal by the standards of our Bill of Rights. Welfare is 100% slavery. And I have only ever met one other white man that has ever been on welfare in my entire life. Because as God and king of this country, I'm the very same slavery. I am in the very same slavery that Jesus and John the Baptist faced during their crucifixion. So what happens as a result of all of this illegal activity by Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, is that there's a catch-22 in our Constitution that is not really in the Bill of Rights, that renders all of the 16 amendments that have enslaved our nation under Kamala Harris and Joe Biden for the last 150 years completely invalid, and legally erases the Russian occupation of our country financially, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. This is the 11th Amendment. Let me read it to you and then I'll explain. The judicial power of the United States shall not be construed to extend to any suit in law or equity commenced or prosecuted against one of the United States by citizens of another state, or by citizens or subjects of any foreign state. What this means is this: lawyers and attorneys are subjects of England or Great Britain, as our legal system has always been controlled by the black communist states of England and Russia. This is a fact that is impossible to get around, as the English and Russians proudly display their symbolism and historical heritage in every courtroom that I have ever been in. Please keep in mind that I've been sleeping on the courthouse steps here in Malibu for the past 2 years, seeing with my own eyes the Habsburg family seal of slavery emblazoned on the wall of the Malibu courthouse directly to my right. So getting back to where I left off, this 11th Amendment, it means that all the claims of civil rights that are supposedly protected through the final 16 amendments of the Constitution, which every attorney in the USA will hold the Bible and claim as legal, renders their professional opinion and the 16 amendments that hold our country in virtual state of slavery illegal. Simply because any judge, police officer, lawyer, attorney cannot deny the fact that they are a foreign agent, as our Article 1, Section 9, and Section 10 forbids our government at the state or federal level from issuing titles of nobility. So where did these lawyers, judges, police officers, and other professionals in the legal field get these titles of nobility? They got these titles of nobility from England. So what the framers of our Constitution decided to do was frame the Constitution up into freedom with 10 amendments, and then guarantee the holy people, the racial minorities, their freedom. And they said, let's set a bear trap around the first 3 articles and 10 amendments for all these lawyers who are doing slavery, who are going to come behind us to have their asses hung from a rope and tied to the tree if they ever decide to monkey around with the Constitution. And on the Constitution, like the black communists do with our holy Bible, is that they started taking and adding onto our freedom, which totally invalidates freedom. And let me explain to you again, there are 16 amendments that do not belong there, that are interfering with our freedom, which is completely and totally illegal. So after 2 years of sifting through all of these lies and thefts, I was finally able to link them them being Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, to the murders of James Garfield and William McKinley, our former presidents and Union soldiers. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who's Herodias, never stopped their thirst for blood and political control, and they've been doing this at the complete expense of the racial minority union for 2,000 years, because Joe Biden, the soldier who stabbed Jesus, and Kamala, John's beheader, have been colluding along with a host of other high-profile, ancient, holy, biblical black communist slaves who are important characters in the Bible, like LeBron James, Jay-Z, Beyonce, and of course, Barack the Abomination. They're all part of the black communist slave invasion that's been going on in our country for the past 150 years. So now that I've given my testimony concerning the reality of freedom as it truly exists right now, and that we're buried under 16 useless amendments of slavery, I have a few more things that you should consider concerning the final push to rid our country of these foreign invaders of the Russian Pole occupation of our country. This occupation has been going on in the U.S. for the past 150 years, as I've already explained, and it's been going on in Israel and Jerusalem for the past 2,200 years. And these are the things that you have to take into deep consideration and get ready for the fifth angel, the holy fifth angel, of the apocalypse, Ray Lewis, who is and what you want to do is get ready to hear his response to what I just said. And if you're fortunate enough to hear what I have to say and Ray enact, this is going to start the first world apocalypse. So I'm telling you, it's best to get ready and hear what more Ray has to add on to what I have to say, because I'm pretty sure he probably has a plan that's a little bit more comprehensive and on the ground, because I am getting ready to do a miracle and leave. So what I want you to know in the meantime, and what I'll be doing, is adding names to the black communist race invasion, which I call the Beyonce no less exit list, and inviting you to join again. I'm inviting you to join the one and only racial minority union church of our country, as we are the Seven Nation, and we are inviting you to add names to this black communist slave list that we're creating. So to help you with your submission of black communists who need to be ousted from our country, we're giving away, as a gift for joining the holy church of our nation, we're giving away ARM-E computer to qualifying memberships to our nation's one and only holy church. Because there are only two races in this entire universe, which are the race that steals and the race that kills. I have given you the information that you need to decide if it is worth joining the race that kills to be a member of the race, or you can be a member of the race that steals, then you don't have to do anything. Just keep allowing Kamala Harris to prostitute our U.S. Constitution to every foreign nation in the world, and you are a colluding party to the slavery and child prostitution that is well documented in the Bible that Kamala Harris was doing during the occupation of Jerusalem by Herod, as she is Herodias, and still very much involved with the occupation and child prostitution rings that are going on in our country right now. And as I said, she was there in Jerusalem and Israel, and is present now doing the exact same thing. So your membership purchases will not go to buying a new church or a big Cadillac for Ray Lewis. He doesn't need any of those things. Your membership purchase will go to exiting everyone from this country who's had a hand in the institution and maintaining the welfare slavery of Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Barack Abomination that has kept our country enslaved under these three biblical queens of the Stone Age for the last 150 years. Now, I will have a list of devils that the racial minority union body will not touch, with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Barack Obama on this list, as we have already decided in the Bible that the biggest devils, which we will name, are left exclusively for the head of Christ to engage. while all the rank and file black communist oppressors and occupiers are open season. That was, we will simply supply estimates for black communists and their family members who have not vacated our country after the smoke from the first woe clears. If you want to be a part of this race of salvation and be part of the prophecy in the Holy Bible, sign up now. And again, we will honor your purchase and even work to supply you with a calculator that will help you prepare your finances for the start of the apocalypse, as well as many other services that we will list at the Lion Judah in time. And I'm hoping to do that today, but you'll be able to find the Lion of Judah at lionjudah.com. So that's all from me today. I hope you received the word. Please extend this message to Ray Lewis. Hashtag him on Instagram, Facebook, emails, his publicists, whatever it takes. I'm going to do my part in uploading this, and hopefully we'll have a miracle tonight, and we'll start with ending the Russian occupation of our country. Hey, look, thank you for listening, and may freedom be with us all and be with our country very soon. Godspeed.